Hi. Are you guys fighting? No fighting in my chat, please. Hi guys. Hello. Hello Solaris. Hello Nia, claiming first even though Solaris was the first message. I'm gonna give it to you guys both. You got a smooch? Mwah. For Leona. Smooch. Mwah. For Solaris. Another one for Leona. Mwah. There you go. Hi guys. How's it going? It's Friday. It is a freaky Fat Tit Friday. I don't know why I keep adding that. More letters to it. Oh god, I'm streaking. Hi. Thanks for this three stream streak. You've been here all week. I'll be here all week. Anyway, how are you guys doing? You guys ready for the weekend? I'm not. I gotta go back to work. But I had a pretty relaxing day. Not much happened. It's been a little bit of a rainy day. It's kind of just relaxed in bed. Ate a bunch of junk, unfortunately. And by junk, I just mean like some sweets, and that's about it. But how are you guys doing? I fucking love Sonic music, straight up. Model stuttering, I can see that. Why? Oh. My internet's lagging a bit, that's what's going on. Give me a second, I can fix this. I know exactly why it's lagging, I guarantee you. Oh my god. Thanks, Leona, for a gift sub. Holy shit. Do I look okay now? Do I seem okay now? Maybe not. Give me a second. Ooh, Guile's theme's on. Solaris, enjoy the emotes. Give me a second. Let me try to fix this. I think I know exactly why this is happening, by the way. Just don't worry about it. Still lagging, don't worry, I'll fix it. I know exactly why it's lagging. I'm actually lagging, my internet is, so like I don't know exactly how to fix that part. My internet's just struggling right now, I guess. Is something downloading? I think I know what's happening. That. I know exactly what's happening. I will fix it in just a hot second. Alright, should be good. Welcome, Pookie. Tried downloading more dedicated RAM. Maybe. If you guys are not hearing me within 1 or 2 seconds, please refresh the stream. I should have it fixed by now. Hello, welcome in. Say hi the moment you hear me saying hi. My model still lagging? It is. Why? Okay. Why is this lagging though? Okay, we're good. We should be good. Is my model still lagging? It seems okay. It's like randomly lagging. That's what's going on. Here, let me try to fix something. Do I look okay? Still a little laggy, I can see it. Hang on. I will turn myself off for a second, and I will honestly just restart YouTube Studio. Really great? I'm sure I do. I can see myself still lagging a tiny bit. I think I know why, but we'll see if this fixes anything. We will see if any kind of like literally turning it off and on is gonna fix it. I think it will. Okay. I am still lagging a bit. Why? Something is probably slurping up my RAM, I would assume. What is on that I don't usually have on? Why is there 6 versions of this on? Holy shit. Give me a second. I'm gonna close up this. Oh god, not this song. It's gonna make me cry. No. This song's actually gonna make me cry. What the fuck, man? It's not OBS, is it? Ba, 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 ba. Ba, ba. Bum, 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 bum. Shit, okay. No. There's like a tiny bit of lag still, but I don't know why. Ba, 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 ba. Where can I see my fucking FPS in this? Why can't I see my FPS? Ba, 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 ba. Ba, 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 ba. I think we'll just go with as is. I changed something in OBS that could fix it, but at the same time, I don't want to restart OBS because I don't really want to like make the stream turn off and turn it back on. So I guess we'll go with a tiny bit of lag for today. And as for the RAM comment, I have more than enough RAM for this. Like even as right now with this lag, I am not anywhere near like full like memory. Yeah, it's quite literally a case of fuck it, we ball. I'm still checking things on my task manager. I think I have 32. Let me double check. I can double check for you right the fuck now. Where the fuck do you find that? I forgot already. That's where you find out. Yep, 32 gigs. Also, this song might be a little teaser of what the next Timeless Thursday game's gonna be. Because there might be a game that was announced very similar to this game that I'm gonna have to play on when it comes out. So I need to play the quote-unquote original version. What is this from? Rhythm Heaven Fever for the Wii. This is the very first minigame. So, ow. I'm planning on playing it next once Donkey Kong 64 ends, specifically because they announced that Rhythm Heaven Groove, the newest version, is coming out in July. So I want to at least play a Rhythm Heaven game if, so I don't get called a fake fan. Please God, Dre, we're gonna be bouncing around if it's a rhythm game. It's not that kind of rhythm game. It's a controller rhythm game. Like, it's gonna be like I'm gonna be pressing 2 buttons. I'm not gonna be like dancing around. The most bouncing I'll do is if I'm like literally head bobbing to the music. Anyway, yeah, I think I'm just lagging because I tried to install some new things for stream, just for like other features that I want to add, and I guess it's not working the way I wanted without making me lag. So should be fine by next week because I've already technically uninstalled it, but I can't fix it until I restart OBS, and I don't want to restart OBS because I don't want to stop the stream. So we're just gonna go on. This is Mooncave music from Mario Odyssey. Anyway, let's get the game. You guys want to play some Pokopia? You guys want to see me play some Pokopia? I think you guys want to see me play some Pokopia. Yeah, just noticed it's my entire OBS lagging, by the way. It's not just my model. But I think it's just that one thing I added. Hang on, I gotta reset my capture card. I saw a little screen tear. Also, Leona, as if people would not be interested in the boobies bouncing because of it being a rhythm game. Come on now, let's be real here. Okay, so I forgot what I'm doing today. I guess we're gonna run around and just see who spawned. My poor back, listen, if I had the capabilities of having somebody help support my my poor back, I would. Sadly, I have nobody for that. I gotta sneeze, hang on. Ugh. Okay, where are we? We're in Wither Wastelands because Charizard's here. Mimikyu's here. Look at Mimikyu. Hi Mimikyu. Bye Mimikyu. Oh, what's up? Hey. Big Charizard blowing up anywhere. He's my roommate. So I just want to say like thank you for like always being nice to me. Here, this is for you. You can have it. Oh, he's so shy. Oh, I need to chat to people. That's fine. Let's talk to this motherfucker. He built a little house for me. As for who's gonna live in it, I don't know. I just like building things just to make the town seem more lively, because a lot of Pokemon just don't have houses. They're just living in literal shacks. Like this is Oddish's house. I put this bed because he wanted a bed, but this is his house. Anyway, as always, tell me how the audio is. Tell me if it's good or bad, or needs to be increased or lowered. Let me know. I need a fire type. It sounds a little loud in my ear, but I think it's okay. Wait, do they know each other? They don't know each other. Everything sounds good. What about me? Do I sound good? All right, how many? I'm not gonna get that many coins. It could be lower, really. I never really messed with the game audio. It just got louder, I guess. This is the exact same level that it's been the entire freaking time I've been playing Pokopia. That's interesting to me. Mewtwo stamp. Place furniture, fresh coat of paint. That's actually really easy. Fresh coat of paint, that's easy. Ooh, I can make a cake. Wait, this is... That's just, that's the thing that Sylveon likes. I already have Sylveon, but that's interesting that I can just make it now. Okay, so, in this town, I have one habitat over here. Hopefully somebody spawned. Yes! These are personal preference, that's fine. It did seem a little high. It was... It's Ampharos! Hi, Amphi! Oh my, aren't you just the cutest thing? Are you human? Wait, no, you're a Pokemon, aren't you? Very good transformation. This is like quite a nice area to live in. Maybe I'll like the place up with my trusty tail. Looks like I've already got a lovely neighbor in you, so I believe life is about to get brighter. Yay, I love Ampharos. When it gets dark, the light from its bright, shiny tail can be seen from far away on the ocean's surface. Oh, you wanted the plain life. That's nice. And you like sour. Here, I'll give you sour. You can have sour, which is Aspir I am. What's Aspir berry supposed to be? Is it just pear? Yeah, so as Ampharos showed up, which is like what I wanted, because that's the only, obviously, the only Pokemon in there. Gold Sparkle! Who's my favorite electric type? Ooh! Who would be my favorite electric type? Ampharos is definitely up there. This is tough because I don't remember every single Pokemon off the top of my head like immediately. Like Ampharos is up there, Vikavolt is up there. Like I like some of the oddballs. Like a lot of people are like, oh, I like this Pokemon, I like this Pokemon. For me, it's I think electric types for me is kind of oddball choices. Anybody else here? I think somebody else is here that could spawn, right? I think up here? No, nothing here. Maybe in Palatown then. Bookcase. Can I talk to them? No, they just talk. Really like Galvantula. Galvantula is also a good one, yeah. Joltik I think is better for me. Like I like Galvantula, but I think Joltik is just a funny, cute little guy. Specifically because he's like, I think he's legitimately like 0.3 inches tall. Like he's actually, because he's based on a tick, right? He's like actually a little guy. Oh no, he's 0.3 pounds. That's what it is. So I think he's like an inch tall. Oh, so he's your height, Leona. You are barking up the wrong tree. I am like 800 Joltik's tall. Love to like let's like it's cool. Shoddy, I'm shoddy. I'm not a shorty. Okay, in this area we got, oh yeah, I know what I got. It's over here. Oh, it's Metang. What the fuck? Oh, Metagross. Oh, of course Metagross wants it. Oh. Wanna know why I say I know Metagross is here? Because this is the gamer's paradise. Hello. Calculations complete. Chance of first meeting is 100%. Rewording required. It is nice to meet you. Calculations complete. Chance of being friends is also 100%. Let us be friends. I wish I had like some kind of a voice filter I could add on. I would 100% give him like a robotic voice and make him sound like fucking Metal Sonic. Firmly pinned its prey using its 4 claws and large body. Metagross uses the mouth on its stomach to chew its prey to bits. It has a mouth on its stomach. I always forget what the underside of Metagross looks like. Yep, look at that. Gamer's Paradise. I found this on that island that has just every item in existence. You get one of every gaming item, and I guess Metagross appears. What does he do? Crush? Shit. I didn't check what he likes. Recycle Crush, and he likes dry. Hey, don't run, don't run. My home, it has become nicer. He likes dry, which I think, yeah, Chesto Berry. No, because I forgot he has Crush. It's for you. Anyway, I have this giant open area here. I wanted to rebuild one of the altars, but you guys want to see how big these altars are that they gave me the plans for? me a second, I gotta go pick it up. Take a look, take a look. Let's go over here to this nice wide open area. You'd figure you could build fucking like 6 houses in this area. Take a look at how big this motherfucking thing is. It fucking takes the entire thing. It's huge. Like my penis. Look at this thing. It's free real estate. It's literally fucking huge. Like, I think like I wanted to put it here because it's a power plant. So I'm like, oh, it's free electricity. But this is so fucking big. I need to put it somewhere else. Like over there somewhere and like just drag the electricity over. I'm assuming the other 2 are just as big. So like I just need to put them on the other islands. Because I want to keep this like my my habitats. Oh. Bastiodon's here. Yeah, I also got Bastiodon's fossils, so I set up his home here. Hey there, nice to meet you. My biggest strength is I'm just sturdy, you know, that's funny because he has 30 as an ability. So if anyone tries to attack you around here, you hide behind me, okay? What? It's all peaceful here and there aren't any enemies? That's great. God, I can just imagine him singing in this like fruity, like absolutely sarcastic voice. It lived in the same environments. Ooh, I like that noise. A little bring. I didn't realize that's how his cry sounds. In the same environments where Grandpardos are fought and found together, seemingly from after they'd fought to the finish. And boom. Yeah, just. I never realized he had a little bing at the end of his thing. That's cool. He likes bitter. Deedle beep. How many Pokemon have I registered? I'm trying to think about that. I think I'm like maybe close to 200. Not exactly 200, but I'm pretty sure I'm close. He likes bitter. You're welcome. Alright, so that's actually all that we got here. Like, who else showed up that I did before you guys realized we're here? I got Vaporeon. No, I got Glaceon. I got over here. Right here. I got Glaceon in here, wherever they are. I made a little cove for Rowlet, his little tomato field here. He always says like, oh, it's too fucking bright around here, so I literally made him a shed, and he's like, oh, it's nice and dark. I want to see where. I think they're despawned because there's too many Pokemon. I can bring him to come over here. Don't worry. Because the game only allows 20 Pokemon to be spawned at one time, and it's been all the Eevee and evolutions are in this area, which is technically a post-game area. It literally tells you when you get here, you probably shouldn't be here until you have a little bit more experience. There you go. Hey there. What do you like? You want decoration? Okay. What do you like? Yeah, I got everything but Flareon. It looks like Flareon and Jolteon and Umbreon so far. But the only way to actually get them to the town is you need to do like missions, which give you items that give you little habitats. Their habitats are easy. You just need the items, which are missions, which are not the easiest. It's basically just end the game like, hey, just build a town, and as you build it, you figure things out. What do you like again? Water, shiny stuff, cute stuff, glass. Ooh, glass decorations. I'm sure I can do that. What do I got for glass decorations? This clay? This isn't glass, this is ceramic because it's clay. Okay, I gotta check what else the Glaceon likes. Shiny cute glass. Shiny Shiny is actually pretty easy. Shiny, cuter, glass. Plus, some of these that look like decorations are considered toys, so I have to like check every item to make sure that it's actually what I want it to be. Shiny, cute, or glass. Surprisingly, I don't have much of either of those. The flowers might work. Fire hydrant is shiny technically, but I don't know if I want to give that to them. I'm running out of options. Hi Fudge, welcome in. What's this? Oh, generator. These are shiny but not cute. I think the berry lamp is pretty cute. This is very shiny. Absolutely, this will work. How's it going, Fudge? Happy Friday. I need to give Glaceon a roof though, so give me a second to make Glaceon a roof. I'm gonna make it actually look like it's part of this area, that's why I'm breaking down this rock to build it off of. That should be enough rocks. Let me do this. Can we do this? Will this work? I think this should work, yeah. Go there. There. I need a lot more rock, I just realized this isn't gonna work. Actually, I think this will work. Should I go one higher? I might have to go one higher. I don't have enough for that. That's fine. Boom. And where'd Glaceon go already? I'm like, where'd you go? That's Vaporeon. Where'd Glaceon go? The fuck? Alright, fuck it. We're getting at the Pokedex. We're on a manhunt. Mime Jr. Where are they? Behind their house, it looks like? Oh no, they're gone. They despawned again. When it tells you to use honey, they despawned again. I got the thing you wanted. You can't see through that. What the hell? They're just fake. They're not even looking at it. Okay, now they're looking at it. They like it. How do you like it? Perfect. Yes. You're welcome. It's so cute. Alright. Think a tinker in my way. Place things and paint. I don't like painting things. It's kind of annoying. Build things. That's Flareon. It's probably Jolteon, and that's probably Umbreon. Make roads. That kind of sucks. Where am I going next? I guess the island, maybe? What island is this? Is this the island I want to go to? Yeah, this will work. Okay, we're at the same island that I keep going to because I want Suicune to spawn. And Suicune spawns in the Clefairy Doll Island. Anyway, welcome back from the ads, guys. Oh, this one's right next to me. Sorry if my pops are annoying. What else is around here? You like my pops? Thank you. That's what I wanted. I want to check the Pokedex. Because you can actually tell if something's in here if you go this. Nope, nobody. Supposedly. I will still check, but supposedly nobody's in here. Mushrooms. Signpost. Oh, it's the same objects, I think. So this is a chance to be habitats or Pokemetal. It's habitats, I like it. What's this habitat? Oh my god. Oh lord, it's cute everything. I don't have a cute everything, but this shit's pink as hell. Who do we think would spawn with cuteness overload? Who would spawn with cuteness overload? You'd think Sylveon, but I already have Sylveon. Who would spawn with cuteness overload? It wouldn't be a baby Pokemon, would it? Maybe like Jinx or something. Hell, if it's Jinx, it's probably Smoochum, actually. More rope. Anything else around here that I can snag? I see nothing, so we go. Oh, there's two. Oh, whoa! I see gold. Did I see gold? I didn't see anything. We go. There's two holes in here now, so we're good. One of these holes probably has music, and the other one probably has habitat info. Ooh. Oh, we already have that. Never mind. I do want to mine some copper too, because I need a lot of copper for one of the altars. Oh, missed you. Oh, more habitat info. Okay, what do we got? Lumberjack's workplace. That's actually really easy. I think I have all of those items. So, since it's Friday, what's up? What are you gonna ask? I literally can make this. I'll make this somewhere like accurate. Maybe the Rocky Ridges. Leona, what are you doing? Thank you, but what are you doing? Why are you going crazy? You've gifted us up every stream since you've been here. Are you okay? Do I need to take your credit card away? You're not crazy? No, you're not crazy. I'm just saying you're really showing the love. Thank you. I appreciate it. I'm just dumb. I'm dumbfounded. The cat's got my tongue. I don't know what you want to call it. There should be more of an entrance somewhere. So let me look around. But anyway, thank you, Crazy Dragoon Mistress. Thanks. Enjoy the sub. And now you go to work. Okay. Enjoy your night. Thanks for the gift sub before you tuxedo mask your way out of here. We're doing pretty good. Fudge, how are you doing? How's your week been? Ooh, it's pretty cool. I must manage stream longer, but you gotta go to work. Oh, I'm sorry. Well, I mean, you can technically watch me at work if you're not busy. Sleepy at work. See, there's another one joining you. Ooh, the road to Cerulean. Ooh. Anyway. The only thing I'm dealing with lately is actually not sleeping very well. Not sleeping very well, and also dealing with the fact that somebody I used to call a friend doesn't even acknowledge that I exist anymore. I think it's kind of weird, but it be what it be. People can do whatever they damn well please. This is a slate. It's a diddle. I don't want this stupid doll. Also, if you guys hear something random in the background of the stream, I'm still watching Iron Mouse because of Cyclothon, and they're playing random 90s anime endings, and it's just really funny. One of them is Inuyasha's ending, which I remember pretty well. Alright, we're done with this area for now. There was no... Imagine having friends. I have a handful. I thought I had one more, but I guess the answer to that was a big fat... You know, I guess I'm a fucking idiot for assuming that. And people wonder why I stream so much every week, even though I only have certain days off for work. The answer to that is because my friends don't seem to give a shit. So I might as well stream to people who do. Oh god, I got a DM from some business. Oh shit, I kind of want to look at it. Oh, I kind of want to look at it, but I'm busy streaming. Alright, so now... Where do we go? Let's go to the ridges next. Right, or the beach? Beach or ridges? Let's go to ridges, yeah. Because I actually have some Pokemon that I want to have spawned, but they haven't spawned yet. Oh, that looks really nice. Sorry, I got some work done, or I'm getting some work done, and I got back a what do you call it? A whip. Somebody whipped it to me real good. All right. So Pokemon that I know can spawn in here is in the volcano, actually. Wait, I'm gonna check this out. Second, that was actually actual pseudo. That's what you'd think. It's a wacky waving inflatable arm flailing tube, man. Yes! It's my favorite. This is Gen 3, right? And this is Let's Go, I think. We'll go for the original though. Nothing beats the original. Like, as much as people dislike Gens 1, 2, and 3, like, there's something about the music that just tickles you. Okay. I want to make that lumberjack thing. Where is it at? Right here. It's a tree stump. What the fuck? Oh, I gotta move a tree? That's actually not that bad. I have magnemite. Lock cart, lock chair. Oh, sorry. Zenith, hi. So just left for Gen 4 music. I never played Gen 4 on release, so that's not quite in my favorites. I think people just like 1 and 2. I think 3 is probably most people's loved because it's like most people's first for the most part. But 1 and 2 a lot of people just like because of how buggy and like random it is. Mostly because it's old, because people are, you know, haters of things that are old. Chair table. Chair table stump. I can fix that very easily. Do I have a tree on me that I can move around? No, but I can fix that. Put it here. Then we just give it a nice slice. And now I need a log chair, a log table, and a cart. I think I have a cart. But anyways, Annie, how are you doing? Hi! I love Chargebug. I love the fact that his cry is a literal accordion noise. And if you want me to prove it, give me a second. A nice little accordion noise. I fucking love Chargebug. It's such a dumb Pokemon, but I love him. I need a log table. Log chair. Doing horrible, but I'm feeling good tonight. I hope that means you're okay tonight at least. I hope that means you get better soon. And then it was a cart. Where's my cart at? Not the Mario Kart variety, just a cart. There you are. He's making me lumber. That's cute. Shit. I have so much Pokemetal, it's kind of crazy. Where's my Pokemetal at? Wait, I don't have a single Pokemetal storage here? Well, let's fix that. Not rare. Rare I can keep on me. Keep like 30 in every box. Cool. Okay. I was gonna make the Lumberjack's Wet Dream or whatever it's called. I know for some reason how it looks matters, so the cart's behind it. Cart's here. And the chair is right next to it. And the table's in front of that. There we go. I can see why it's called Lumberjack's Workplace now that I think about it. 3 Pokemon need this habitat? I didn't even look at that. Oh, God. What song is this? Windin'. Okay, it's time to go where I want, which is needs a minecart. What do I have on me right here? No. Now where I'm going is all the way into the museum because I'm an idiot and I put somebody's habitat in the museum. Oh, there I see them. Do you see who I see? My boy slash girl. What are you? Hi. Oh, I'm so pleased to meet a new face. And this place is quite nice too. So calm and peaceful. It's a volcano, but okay. I'll be living here from now on, so I'm looking forward to us getting to know each other better. Oh, but just one thing. My body's extremely cold. Be careful not to touch me or you'll be frozen solid. You've been warned, dear. I love Auroras. Like, they're one of my favorite Pokemon. Auroras was restored from a fossil. It's said that when this Pokemon howls, Auroras appear in the night sky, and that's a really cool feature for them. Right there. You like sour, crush, and litter. Here, let me get you sour, which is everybody likes Aspire berries, man. What the fuck? Anyway, you're gonna leave your home. You are gonna join me and be my roommate because you are my favorite Pokemon that is in this area. Follow your butt towards me, please. There, you are too big to leave your habitat. I understand. Come this way, please. Follow me. We're going through your most hated habitat, the fire area. Please tell me you can actually follow. I love their gallop. Come on. Please tell me you can fit through there. You can. Go, buddy, go. I have to go slow to make sure they can follow me. Because the moment they can't, the game just has them stop following you. This is the world's best escort mission. I can speed up over here now. It's now slow down again. Come on, buddy. Follow me to my home. Uh-oh. I knew it. I was like, you actually can't make it through there. Don't worry, I got you. Come on, let's go. Wait, you're not gonna make it through here again. Go, 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 go. Who's playing this song here? Oh, he's here. Okay. This is a really long escort mission. It's because this motherfucker's slow. I love Auroras. I also love that he has Glaciate, I believe is the ability's name, which turns all normal moves into ice type moves, which with, I think it's with 1.2x power. Wait, what? Yeah. And I always used to carry Hyper Beam on this thing because it's a special attacker. Over here. Join my home. Be my roommate. You need to be closer, apparently. This way. Come this way. Somebody's there. I saw the text pop up. You want to move in? You can live on the second floor. That's a really bad idea for someone so tall, but you can live on the second floor. Who's here? Is that Haxorus? No, that's Axio. Is this the whole line that actually lives in here? Whoa, who are you? Why are you on my turf? Get out of here and get ready to catch these tusks. Why aren't you scared? Wasn't I menacing enough? I don't get too comfortable. Someday when tusks are big and intimidating like Haxoruses, I'm gonna scare you off so good. How about we be friends until then? Okay? Okay. Motherfucker's trying to scare a ditto. This Pokemon nest in the ground, use their tusks to crush hard barriers. Crushing barriers also they test each other's strength. Sweet flavors, of course you would. Hey, you see the moon up there? Where does it go during the day? It's such a child question. It's for you. Anyway, I need you to move out of your home so you can leave space for your brothers. So come on up here. Look at this prime real estate. Look at that, you got a scenic view of a graveyard. Look at that. You like it, right? Tell me you like it. Oh yeah, he likes it. Fully furnished. Oh yeah, you're good. Alright, so we got that going. I need to make another stool. The team. Hi, Ruby. I want a nice, simple stool. Something that won't burn like this iron chair because you guys don't know what I'm making, but I will. What are we doing? Just running around building habitats, seeing what Pokemon spawn. I get the Pokemon? Which Pokemon? I got a lot of Pokemons. I'm just saying, like, a lot of Pokemon spawn so far. But if you mean a specific one. Because I had one waiting. Oh, yeah. I had Aurorus waiting. Because I built Aurorus's fossil. And yeah, I got them. I moved them over to my house so they're not stuck in a volcano. The next habitat is over here at the lava falls. Don't burn. If you're wondering what I'm making at the lava falls, don't worry about it. Where's the thing I made? I make a lava fishing spot. I don't know what this is gonna catch me, but I made a magma fishing spot. There's apparently a fishing spot for every type of water. Or liquid. Oh, it's Arcanine. I already have it, so yeah, this is now just a part of my habitat decks, I guess. So we're good. Cool, so that's worthless. Maybe the Decidueye spawned? Decidueye has not spawned. You fish a dog out of lava. So, if you're wondering why, I think it's supposed to be a reference to Pokemon Snap. If you're wondering why, if you've never played OG Pokemon Snap, when you get to the volcano area, at the end of the stage, there's 3 like lava puddles that if you throw like what they call a pester ball, which just makes Pokemon run out of habitats. Like if they're hiding, if you throw them in there, you spawn 2 Growliths and an Arcanine. So I'm assuming if they meant it to be a reference to that, it's a reference to that. Alright, so we got that. There's a lot more habitats I should make. What's this one? Oh, that's Victory Bell. Smart reference. If it's a reference. It might not be, but if it is, that's what I'm assuming what it is. Potted plant. I have the pitcher plant somewhere. Plate of food mushroom. That's really easy. Do I have the lamp still on me, potentially, or the plant? I don't. Speaking of, I need to check every single one of my boxes, I just realized. Because, I have some scrolls in one of my boxes that I need for a habitat as well. But yeah, if it's a reference, it's a reference to that. If it's not a reference, maybe they just had fun with it. Hi Pecunia, welcome in. How you doing? How you doing, baby doll? Ooh, 10 stream streak, hell yeah. Nothing here. Check this one. Nothing there. Check this one. Nothing there. Okay, so now we'll go to the next habitat. Doing good. It is Freaky Friday, so welcome on in. We're not getting too freaky because it's Pokemon, but I mean... Tibby. I like how you're actually calling it Tibby. I just don't want to get in trouble for calling it the proper term. If you guys hear anything, again, just like yesterday, I'm watching Iron Mouse and Cyclothon, so you might just hear her screaming randomly. I can make you freaking TOS, please, at least. Also, I saw I got a gift sub to Lexi and Ruby when I checked. I saw you mention you can't wait for a certain stream, and I just want to tell you, probably never gonna happen. Not anymore, at least. Not very good, don't worry. What stream? Don't worry about it. It's a reference that will never come to fruition anymore. We're all good, don't worry. Don't say oh no. We're chill. I'm chill. Scrolls. Let me check inside my house in case there's one in there. Oh, ad break. There's a thing in here, is there? Yeah, it's time to be freaky. Sure, I guess. Balls, boobs, butts, and the boys. That just reminds me of a freaking not TikTok, but like a meme somebody made. I think it is a TikTok actually. I think this is literally a TikTok that I'm thinking of. Where are these scrolls that I'm missing? I know I had some. Ugh. So while I'm looking for my stuff, I want to show you what I'm looking for, just in case you guys see it and I don't. I'm trying to make, where's the habitat at? Where are you? I think you're in the Skylands area, so it should be around here. I'm trying to make this. So if you see these scrolls, the things in the middle, somewhere in my boxes that I'm opening up, let me know. They have not shown up, I'm pretty sure, so I'll just completely double check. Go to the beach, then we go to the Skylands, and then I'm pretty much out of locations. It's probably in the Skylands, honestly, but I'm just gonna check everywhere to be safe. Wait, do I have a box up here? I might have a box up here. Give me a second. I don't have a box, but I do have a sparkling ripple looking back from the ads, by the way. Boobs. I need to have like a custom 7TV emote. When you type boobs, it just, I don't know, types something else. Alright, so there's nothing. I need to rebuild up here, by the way. It's kind of barren up there. Red? 60 streams? Holy shit. How many months is that? Because I stream 3 times a week. That's 20 weeks. So that's almost going on 5 months now. We're at 4 months just about. Actually, no, it is 5 months, right? Because a month is roughly 4 weeks, maybe a little more depending on how it works. Ah, damn. Doesn't matter. What does matter is hi, Red. Oops, and it's just the mom. Oh, tits out of your tits in the genie bikini. Oh, do you mean the one that the newest one that I got, not the one that actually has nipples? I was gonna say, are you talking about the nipple one that I have? Because I have 3 pieces of, actually I have 5 pieces of art from them, and I really only use 4 of them. The one you post on Twitter, the one with the one with the crown, right? The queen outfit, right? I post that one a lot because it came out really good. That's why I like posting it. Yo, Rin, what's up? Oh yeah, he has my iron ore for me. Where to have a big? Oh yeah, that one. Yeah. I posted that just to get a rise out of people that wanted to comment on it. I don't know. I just like, oh, somebody's here. It was funny. I'm glad somebody thought so. Because honestly, I don't know if anything I post is ever funny. Let me be honest. Somebody's over here, and I know exactly who it is. I think this is Dragapult, potentially. Let's see. I think it is Dragapult. It is. Yo, what's up? I love Dragapult. Oh, he's stuck. Whoa, he found me. Pretty impressive ever since I was here, I tell you what. He's shivering. He's terrified of me. Alrighty, I think you deserve a prize. Dreepy love it, and I bet you will too. You get a ride in my horns. Oh, I get to ride his horns? Hell yeah. Oh, well, I'm saying this might just be a bit too big for that. Wahaha. He's stuck. He's actually stuck. Dragapult can make its whole body transparent by clearing its mind and focusing. Even the Dreepy and Dragapult's horns become invisible. I love the Dragapult line, by the way, because it's just the Dreepy evolve and get like a baby Dreepy as a missile, and then it evolves again and gets a second Dreepy as a second missile. It's fucking awesome. You like spicy. So do I. Here you go. Well, I'll be darned. Thank you kindly. I love that pose. Plum tickle pink. Alright. I need you to leave this house to make room for, I'm assuming, Miss Magius. Shit, where am I gonna put you? I don't want to put you over there with Draclo because it's kind of too far away. I like Dragapult. I'll put you down here by the beach. I'll give you a beach setting. I have this house that I built that I never used it. Over here, buddy. It's a little small for you. I hope it works. Wait, I might need to build it. Shit. Never mind. We'll put you with your cloak and Grimer. Actually, no. I'll put you with Pikachu. You're actually a pretty cool guy. You'll come up here with Pikachu. Yeah, get over here. Get up here. You can make house with them. I can rebuild this too. I just need to put some stuff in there. Get over here. You can have this house. Excuse me. Is it too small for you? There you go. Want to move in here? There you go. You can have it. I need a door for this, and that's it. Need to put the beach sand away because it's just. Oh, that's. I have space for it. What was I gonna do? Make a bed, a table, and something else. I have the chair. Need a table and a bed. Which I don't really have room for, but I'll make it. Oh wait, I was gonna check for stuff too. Not here. Not here. Got a minute? Sure, what's up? Oh. Probably just sea glass fragments, yeah. Anyway, a table. I'll give you an industrial desk. And then I wanted like some form of lighting. Actually, there's a chandelier there already. I will put, I have a chair, a bed. I'll give you an iron bed, a single person bed. Yeah. Boobs. Boobs. I just keep seeing in the corner of my eye, the boobs comment. That goes there. I'll put that in the corner this way. And boobs. It just reminds me of the fucking Family Guy joke. Hey, Lois. Diarrhea. I need doors. Peter, I'm holding iced tea. I can't do a good Lois, let me be honest. Doors. I need a double door too, so it can be a single. This will work. Large wooden door will probably work. Wait. Peter. Rain Kamara is playing Pokopia. Shit, that's pretty good too. I'll get modern doors. So it has to be in the Skylands that the scrolls are at. Peter. There we go. Fix up that house. We gotta fix up this house a little bit. There are kids outside screaming, so if you hear any screaming, I apologize. Where am I going? I know I was going to the Skylands, but where else am I going? Making people scream. I am not making people scream. They're just screaming. Shit, wrong spot. That's fine. I wish I could make kids scream on contact, just because I fucking hate kids. They're okay in some forms, but for the most part, I just dislike them. I don't think I don't think I ever want kids. Like, For a long time I thought like, maybe I'd want a kid. Maybe I'd want a daughter. But then I see what kids are up to and I'm like, I'm cool. I'm chill without it. Wait, can I make this habitat? Does this habitat work? Okay, we don't have this one. This is what, like, river? Just regular fishing pond, okay. Is it somebody new, or do I already have this Pokemon? I have both of these guys. Alright, cool, we're good. Makes sense that the fishing pond would be, slow bro, slow king. Oh, I picked the right option. Okay, are we done here for now? I think we're done. Wait, who's in the marsh fishing spot actually? Where's the marsh spot at? Here. Ocean, I need to make more ocean ones. The marsh is somebody that does it. It looks like it's Mr. Muck. This one's done. This one's done. Alright, cool. We're all good for now. Ugh. Ooh, my shoulders. Right. Yeah. I know what I can do here. Hang on. Do this. I have to make a bathtub for somebody. You're wondering how? I don't know. Somebody just wants to take a bath. Take a bath. We'll put it over here near some water so the bathtub actually works. Does that work? No, it's not getting more space. This maybe? Yes. Simple bathroom. Who wants this? I don't know. Somebody wants this. It looks like it's a single line. Let's fill up the bathtub now. There you go. Let me just go to the Skylands next, I think, and look around there for the fucking scrolls that I needed. Iron Mouse is singing "Don't Stop Me Now" by Queen. Hope everybody's having a good Friday. Hopefully you guys got some good plans for the weekend. Even if it's just work, hopefully you guys have a good time with it. Okay, now I have to look for every single one of my boxes in here so I can hopefully find my scrolls. A new skull? Oh shit. Meaning to go for a barbecue? Ooh. Like a real squirrel? Wait. I think I have the entire head, but fossil now. Like Sandy Cheeks level squirrel? Or like Scrat? It's got a Marzi Max ready. Champion of Hero. Ooh, cool. Who's your Marzi? What Pokemon is these? They're pretty nutty. Shut up. The fuck is this? Aw, somebody's got the zoomies. Alright, gotta look around for what I want. Alchemy? Oh, like marzipan or marzipane, maybe? I have to drop off some I have to like make a whole nother inventory thing for this place. What is alchemy usually used for? Is it like a Clefairy where you just like follow me? Because I know alchemy has pretty high special attack. Support makes sense. The G-Max finale. What does it do again? I forget. Also, yes, I know exactly what Alchemy's thing does. Or Alchemy's attack is, because I used to use G-Max Alchemy. Ugh. Does G-Max finally increase your stats or decrease your opponent's stats? I don't remember. Where the fuck is my next... Where's my storage at? I had these fucking scrolls, but where did I put them? What's up? Listen to stream while I drive to work. Oh, Leona, you're still here? Nice. Glad you're enjoying things. I just want to say thank you guys for being here. For being here so often, especially. It definitely makes me smile. I know I have a hard time showing like emotions in my voice, but hopefully you guys do actually see that. Like, I'm actually happy. If you alchemy, you have to named Chaos Reign? Oh, an Irish Cream. This one's canon my OC. Oh, that's cool. I love them. Yeah, it does mean a lot. Is it here? No, that's not a box. Where the fuck? I'm so lost. Actually lost. What the fuck? Wait, I need electricity. Oh shit, I just realized. Mortar's here. Wait, was he always here? Hold up. Was he always here or is he new? He's always been here. Like Mortar's always been here? What the fuck, buddy? What's up? Yo! Who wants relaxation? I don't even know where you live. Oh yeah, you live on the top floor. I just realized. I just realized where he lives. Hi, Denny. Mr. Denny. Here? Yes. Oh my god, it's not even here. I'm so confused. Is it something that's a storage place that doesn't look like a storage place? Because there's things like that. There's like filing cabinets and shit. Also, why'd you call me President Herbert Hoover? I am not President Herbert Hoover, thank you very much. Oh, I want this. I need that plant. Oh, I don't have that. I thought I did. Autocorrect is a bitch. You must not use the word goober a lot. There's another potted plant there. One of these must be the Hoover vacuums. Are you saying I suck? Because eat one, I guess. I don't know. What the fuck? You just spawned. What's up? Who's here? Oh, Ghastly. Oh, shit. It could also be the Hoover vacuums too. You only suck on Freaky Friday. Shut up. Also, I saw a thing on Twitter, and I have to comment on it because it's the most true statement ever. Why do they call it a blowjob if the majority of the act is sucking? IDK, you're the expert. Yes, I have never given a singular blowjob, thank you very much. I would never. I'm wholesome, I'm say so as possible, come on now. Please ignore the fact that I may or may not before stream have been testing looking for a fucking a water sloshing sound effect to add to the titty physics that I have on my model. Do you want to? Shut up. I'm not even kidding. I wanted to look at that to see if I could find something that sounds good. Couldn't find anything good enough in like the 20 minutes that I searched. I wonder if Google has an answer. I'm sure Google probably has an answer for why it's called a blowjob. I don't plan to look it up just yet. I'm busy streaming. Streaming. Yeah, yo. God damn it, I have the One Piece 4 Kids logo stuck, or thing stuck in my head now. I am so confused. I had 2 scrolls and I lost them. What the fuck? Theories include a misnomer used for sucking, for instance, the explosive nature of milk lemons, like a volcano blowing, or showing about the slang terms. It could just be because, yeah, because men explode, like they blow their load, so it's the job to make them blow, I guess. Trust me, I've never watched One Piece. I never really got into it, even when it was airing on 4Kids, you know, 20-something years ago. I just remember the opening, and it kind of pissed me off how catchy it was. Reminds me to get down to that openness with you sound pack. There's a sound pack for that? Ooh. I thought there'd be something here for it. There's no, let's go all the way up. Ding dong. Can you make me some content with that behind it? I don't know. I'm not gonna solicit for that. What the fuck? Sorry, forget I said anything. Honestly, sometimes I say things just because I don't think about them all the way. I'm not gonna lie. You can ask me for anything. Shut up. I have that. Solicit. Oh no. Do not. I'm not gonna get a Google Docie on me because someone thinks I'm actually soliciting. What's up? Did you guys know there's another Google Docu came out on a VTuber today? If you guys didn't, I can actually teach you a little bit about it. There was one more. A fairly popular male VTuber. I don't really know if I want to get into it, let me be honest, but long story short, a male VTuber got outed as a womanizer. People are calling it grooming or cheating, but it's really just womanizing. Happens all the time, I believe it, but it's essentially what's happening, or from what I understand what happened. Don't quote me on this because I don't want people to like fact check me or send me to like some fucking one of the many VTuber like news outlets to like say like, oh, this person is just stirring drama because they don't know shit. But from what I understand, a very popular streamer essentially solicited, like hit up female presenting VTubers and like showered them with love, with gifts, telling them, hey, you should come to this like expo, this con or something, my treat, you know, literally offering it my treat, and then trying to solicit them for you know, payment, quote unquote, and doing this to several people. That sucks. Yeah, it's essentially a case of somebody using their popularity for evil rather than good. Because, you know, a lot of people are like, oh, didn't these women know better? But it's a lot of people are like, bro, if you are one of the most popular VTubers of a certain gender, do you really think of like, you know, opposite, you know, or not opposite, but people that are interested in you are gonna say no to you? You check the conversation you got from friends. Oh, yeah. If they're friends, they're friends, you know. I think that's a little different, but from what I understand, these people were just like hit up randomly, and apparently there were some people that it happened to, but the moment that they made it known they were in a very loving relationship, the streamer in question actually you know, stopped talking to them, which was, you know, mega sus. But yeah, a lot of people, speaking of, yeah, absolutely. But, a lot of people are trying to fight each other on this topic, specifically because, you know, a lot of people are saying it wasn't, I forgot what terms they're using for it. Not grooming, but like, it's not cheating, it's not whatever they're reporting it as. It's being a womanizer, and people are like, it doesn't change what this person did. Like, whether it was cheating, whether it was grooming, whether it was just being a fucking, lack of a better term, a man whore, a gigolo, I guess. Even though I think gigolos have more respect. Doesn't matter. Sex pests were kind of. I guess kind of. Don't make any habitats here in this area. What other habitats are down here that they kind of expect you to put here? I can do this. Oh god, Mr. Mime. I don't want him. Oh, World Skirlia. That's a bookcase, a seat, a table, pencil. I have a pencil holder. Can I make pencil holders? I think I can make one. If not, I can probably buy one. Hang on. Pencil holder specific. Yep, we got it. It's that. It's a full-size bookcase, right? Yeah, it's a full-size bookcase at an NEC table. I'm pretty sure I have a full-size bookcase recipe. I do. And then it's any table, any chair. That's a bench, not a table. Let's give you guys a study desk. Yeah, we'll do study desk. And we'll give you guys an office chair. Why? I don't know. I feel like office chair fits the vibe. Where is this one gonna be at? Corviknight, what the fuck are you doing here? Where is he? Where'd he go? He was just here. Oh, he's hanging out. He's hanging out with his little brother Rookity. Where am I gonna put this at? This place is kind of crowded. Let's go to the next island. Let's put it up here. But yeah, like that came out today. And it's really funny because a lot of people were quoting specifically Bao the Whale, because I think it was about a year ago where Bao made a comment that if specifically to ladies, right, but it's any gender that this applies to, if a man showers you with attention, affection, love for no reason, suddenly coming in your life, fucking run. And everyone was like, Bao was right. And I'm like, I don't think Bao knew. I think that's just Bao making a joke, essentially, about love bombing, and it ends up being true. Wait, I should have put this inside. That's fine. We'll get these guys an outside study area. I think having a breeze is nice. Anyway, going back from the ads, guys. Fucking god, Kilowattrel's huge. I need to give these guys a way to move over, because Snivy's just stuck. How do I do this? How do I give Snivy an entrance? Is it there to there, maybe? Did make two more things. Altaria, what are you doing there, little silly? I need to make more Tinka gear, so I think a ton. Is it iron bars? It is. Make me 30, please. I need a lot of them. I need to put electricity in here because nothing in here is lit up. It's a furnace. This is a furnace. That's why Altaria's hanging out. Get your butt over here. Build this and it'll be ready by the time the stream ends. Get over here. $7.50, that's 10 minutes. Oh, wait, 5 minutes? What the fuck? I think it only takes 5 minutes to get built. But I can also make mini generators, so we're chill. Where's my mini generators? I'll be honest, I wish there was a way to search for a specific item in this. There's not. There's a way to break it down into like categories, but that doesn't really help in searching. It just obviously makes less overall pages to go through. You can't have it near a wall. Is that right? Oh, you can't have it near something else. That's what it is. How does this work? Do I have to like connect it to something? I do. Alright, cool, this will work. So we do put this out. Oh god, no, put the light back on. Put the generator outside. Why? Because the generator kind of belongs outside. That's my assumption. Then we put one of these inside. We'll probably put two of them inside. One in each corner, potentially. Probably here. There's that. We'll put one over here. Is that everything I need? No, we need more. Put one over here. That doesn't reach. Shit, it's too far away. What the fuck? Oh, I forgot I have camouflage. Like how you can't move this after you put it down. Right there. That reaches basically everything, and then we'll put this right there. It's actually a perfect indent for it. This last one will go right there. Oh, there's nothing for it to even power up. Never mind. No need for that. Oh, the other is. Shit. Shit. Put the chair back. No, turn it around. No lazy fuckers allowed. There we go. Everything here's lit up. I need like a chandelier here, actually. Oh, this one I actually want power poles. Power pole extend. Where are you? Those are ropes. Those are wires. I have no power poles. Sorry, I'm trying to make this place bright. Hi, Spider-Man. Bring me pictures of Spider-Man. I've been in the mood to watch specifically the old Sam Raimi Spider-Mans with Tobey Maguire. I don't know why. I think it's because I've seen a bunch of clips on Twitter. It just makes me want to watch it. Does it actually reach? It does. Smooch. I should. I know I should. I want to. I've seen them before. I just want to rewatch them. Need more electricity. Oh god, I short-circuited the generator. I literally short-circuited the fucking generator. What about the others? I watched Amazing Spider-Man. Wasn't a big fan. It's Ralt! Hi, Ralt! Excuse me, you over there? Ditto. Yep, as soon as I saw you, I knew it. I mean, that you were Ditto. And also that this one was made by you. I wonder if I'm getting across how happy I am. Yes. Thank you, and I hope to see you around. You know what I'm gonna do? You are gonna go live with your mother. If it's horn capture the warped feelings of people or other Pokemon, its body warms up slightly. You come here, live with your mother. This way. And I think, and I'm speaking of, continuing on Spider-Man, I watched the first two Tom Holland Spider-Mans. Never watched the third one yet. I kind of, obviously I know I want to before the new one comes out. But I've already been spoiled on the big twist and the fact that Spider-Man, the other Spider-Man's come over here because it's a multiverse movie. Like, I've been spoiled on that, unfortunately, but I still want to watch it. Like, I should have watched it on release. I forget why I didn't. Hi, Gardevoir. I brought you your son / daughter. No. Come over here. Come over here. This way. They give you guys your own opening, because otherwise you're gonna go all the way around for some reason. Yeah, move in. I need to build this area up too. Like people have some really amazing builds. I don't. I legitimately want to build. I want to build up the actual cities because they have like a blueprint, you know, for how they should look. I haven't messed with the subway system down here either, thinking about it. It's really funny how I short-circuited the entire generator. Are the Royals just on about Gardevoirs? Yes. That is literally what the routes are. Routes are stage 1 of Gardevoir. Gardevoir is stage 2 or 3 out of 3. Potatoes! There we go. Oh, that's right. I want to make some chandeliers. How big of a chandelier can I make, actually? Design clarification. Yeah. A lot of times, your assumption is correct because they look like they belong in the same evolution line, you know. Feel free to ask though if you don't know much about Pokemon. So I don't have a chandelier. Can't make one, really? Make a lot of tiny lights. Oh shit. Crystal balls, I guess, could work, which is funny. Like, I don't want to put street lights in there. I guess this works. Some wall lights. No, wall lights aren't bright enough. Ah, my shoulders. Alright, fuck it. I'll have to wait till I get a chandelier. Let's move up though. Let's keep lighting up this area. Ever heard of a fortune teller by name is Chris Tall Balls? Does he have tall balls? Because if so, that's kind of funny. Put the generator there. Fuck are you trying to light? Nothing, I guess. Something under me. Weirdly enough. I've heard of the famous artist Crystal Bell. Have you guys heard of Crystal Bell? He has crystal balls in his pocket. That's pretty cool. Are they fushigis? Because fushigi was pretty cool. Oh my god. Holy fucking shit, there's a lot of stuff in here. Where can I put this? Up here, I guess? Oh, you can have it attached to the ceiling? That's cool. More electricity? I can do that. Literally this whole shtick is having fushigis. Nice. It's a bad idea to put this up here apparently because it reaches up top and that's not what you want to do. There we go, that works. He was scamming people with his balls. He was telling people, take a look at my wiener, but with his balls. His name is a Plunderstick, that's fair. So he wasn't very good, is what you're saying. He just had a funny name. Not like that. What? You don't think somebody would just randomly say, take a look at my wiener? Like that movie? I forgot what movie was that, but you know what the movie I'm talking about. God, what's the best spot to put this? In the ceiling, I guess. Doesn't reach. Now it reaches. More electricity, I can fix that. Scans people with fake fortunes. Hell yeah, that's a cool dude. There we go. People that believe in fortunes, they deserve to get scammed. What movies are you watching? People are asking to tickle my wiener. Have you guys not seen that movie from like 2005? I think it is. I don't actually know exactly. There's a movie where like one of the main gimmicks in the fucking trailer was some dude in a hot dog contest or costume going, take a look at my wiener. Is it Bad Grandpa? No, it's not Bad Grandpa. It's long before that, surprisingly, and Bad Grandpa's already pretty old. It's one of those coming of age, like raunchy college movies. Maybe not coming of age, but you know what I mean. Was it a Jackass that movie? No, not at all. It wasn't from the creators of Jackass. Not at all. Cool. This pole's kind of in the awkward spot, but that's fine. It was not at all from Jackass Studios, let me be clear there. Pretty nice home. Hold on, Kilowattro. quiz? Fine. What's Froggy's favorite thing? Oh shit, fucking water, duh. That was way too easy, my dude. Thanks for the carrot. Quiz. Oh, it's Glade! What's up, my dude? Hey now, this is like a great area to live in. You're the one who set this place up, yeah? Well then I better show you my appreciation. Thank you. I'm grateful we met today. This will be a start of a beautiful friendship. It's, yeah, I forget what the name of it is. It was not very popular. It was just, there was a trailer on TV that was, it was like, oh, it's full of laughs, full of raunchy comedy. And then out of nowhere, there's just some dude in it's like a fucking Wiener Schnitzel costume. Because it can sense what its foe is thinking. Its attacks burst out first, fast, and fierce. You like spicy? Cool, I'll give you a carrot. Here, take a carrot. You'll be fine. You're not you when you're hungry. Alright, what time is it? It's only 8, really? It feels like I've been streaming for so long. I don't know if that means good things or bad things. Any other habitats I want to make in this area? Trash side TV could be funny. Oh, it's nighttime only too. Sure, 2 garbage bags and a television. I have a television. Do I have one on me? I don't know if I do anymore. I can probably make one. No, that's not a television. That's a wall monitor. A wall monitor! Sorry, it just made me think of SpongeBob. I think I have one in the Wither Wastelands. Fuck! Oh, thank God it doesn't actually load, because it's in the same area. Is it called Accepted? It's a college movie, so maybe it is accepted. It is very much a college-style movie, so Accepted sounds like it'd be the right one. And Jonah Hill. Jonah Hill might have even been the character that was in the fucking hot dog costume. Again, I never watched it. I just saw this shit on like TV as a commercial. It very well could have been. I don't know. I should have a TV here. If I'm correct, I should have a TV. Like, I'm not 100% sure. I'm like 99% sure that's actually the right thing. What's going on? Are people looking at Mimikyu and thinking it's weird? Do they not like Mimikyu? Is that what's going on? I think they're bullying Mimikyu. Guys, leave Mimikyu alone. Okay, I think we're okay. Oh, it's falling asleep. I am so confused as to what's going on. Like, everyone's just here. They're all talking. They're all getting pissed off at each other. I'm gonna keep looking until something changes, because I'm so confused as to what's going on. I think the chat's over. I don't know what happened. They were all just kind of talking to mimic you, but something happened. You found it? I'm sure you did. If it was that movie. There's a TV. It's a TV and 2 trash bags. I'll be honest, I don't care to watch the clip. It's just... it was there. I think the beach has my garbage. Also, I just noticed that you hit a 3 stream streak and you posted it. For some reason, it doesn't post in my Mix It Up. So, thank you for the 3 stream streak since you found me. Actually, huh? Nice. 100% attendance rate. Who is it? That's Rotini? Rotini! Get off, get off, get off. I need to talk to Rotini. Whoa, you're like the perfect size. Yeah, that's what she said. I'm working hard every day to make sure I grow big and strong. I want to use your height as my goal, so let's be buddies from now on, okay? Oh, wait a sec. Can you read yourself as big as you want when you transform? For real? Ugh. I've shed my skin so many times already, and I'm still only this size. It's totally unfair, right? That's a cutie. It's called the Mirage Pokemon because so few Pokemon have seen it, but the shed skin has been found. Why is it called the Mirage Pokemon? The Dragon Pokemon is right up there. Oh. Wait, what? Oh, Poliwhirl. I thought it was like, I already have Poliwrath. Suck. I'm gonna drown. I have to save myself by jumping into another puddle of water. Nobody here yet? Oh, that's right. I wanted to make trash bags. Oh, ad break. Wait, I don't even have garbage here? What the fuck? Where's my garbage at? So back to the rocky ridges, I guess. Burn. Okay. Did somebody else spawn? Did Fracture show up now? Yep, Fracture showed up. One of the ugliest pseudo dragon evolutions. Hey, what are you doing on my turf, pal? I'm trying to get tricky, and these tusks will teach you a... Actually, you're pretty squishy, huh? Not sure if these tusks will do anything, really. Anyway, you don't look like the Trixie type, so hopefully we can be pals. Fracture uses its thick tusk to neatly cut prey into 2 portions, one to eat now and what to save for later. Whoa. You, follow me. Leave that space open for someone else. Come join your brother. Well, that's right, I need to feed him. I do this so he doesn't leave. Where are you, Fracture? There you are. What do you want? You want spicy? Here you go. I'm confused. Am I out of burnable garbage? So that kind of pisses me off. Yo, what's up? Oh, that's right. He's making lumber for me. Yeah, yeah. Here. I'm curious, which area has the least amount of, like, environmental level? Did I find this out at all? I think it's actually the beach. Let's go make this thing at the beach. Yeah, I think surprisingly the beach is actually the one I've been the least at. It's kind of hard to work around water, that's why. Sorry, I'm very cozy right now. I might end up stopping this a little early. Earlier than usual, that is. Where's the spot to put this TV and garbage? Probably over here somewhere. That's true, the TV needs to be on. That's another reason why I did that. Oh, photo op. Oh, shit, hurry up, hurry up. Hurry up! That's cool! Draco Meteor photo frame. Do it again. Do it again. I'm out of space. That's cool. How does that Draco Meteor frame look like, actually? That's pretty cool. Like that. Alright. Speaking of... Oh, what do you got to say? What up? Actually, what's your habitat level at? 6? Oh yeah, I need a lot more for you. What are you, Electrotini? Speaking of... Sweet. I haven't checked Ariados. What do you want, Ariados? want a toy. What kind of toys do you like? I'm gonna guess. Do you like string? No. Nature, wooden stuff. Wooden stuff, that's easy. Garbage. And rides. Colorful stuff. Wood. Wood's really easy, actually. Just literally make you toy blocks. I need headbutt fossil tail, and I can bring him over here too. Which I think my fossils are back in... Are they in Rocky Ridges, actually? Might be in the Wasteland as well. Shit. Yay! He loves it. Whoa, he's flying! He's actually flying. What the fuck? Look at him. Oh. I shouldn't have looked at him. Hang on. There's another habitat I want and I forget what it is. I actually have to go back to Rocky Ridges for a second. Because there's some polka dolls over there I need to grab. Bye. Me. Okay. I need to grab a couple polka dolls from here. Somehow Haxorus spawned again already. No. Haxorus might be kind of rare. Do 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 do. Give me this. I'll do that. I'll do that. That's it. Where's my other polka dolls at? I just thought about it. What the fuck? There's one in the Skylands, I know that. Which ones do I have? Is it just Arcanine? Just Arcanine. The Ditto and the Substitute doll don't actually count as dolls for the purpose of what I'm trying to do. Okay. Let's go to the Skylands because I know this has a doll that I want. Okay. Did that say the environmental level went up? Not something got built, right? The environmental level went up? No, it's not even that. Is it a mission? It was a mission. Give me this. Give me the Eevee. And I will yoink this Clefairy doll. Swablu's not around to see it, right? Perfect. Now, if you're wondering why I'm doing that, there's a habitat I can make for this. As for where, I will make it, let's make it in the building. Wait, hey there, welcome. Who's selling something? Is that Mischievous? Yeah, what's up? Copper? Oh, hell yeah, give me some copper. 300, that's fine. Take 6 tomatoes. I'm out of pee-pee. Gotta fix that. Nice misspelling. Yep, get hacked, loser. Remember, one of the most sought-after items in Pokemon trading card game, I mean, is N's PP up. I fucked up so bad, it's okay. Where do I put this? I need to leave forever? I guess so, huh? Here, I think. No, I probably won't fit here. Let's put it here. I miss you guys. This work? It doesn't. How does this not work? How the hell? Oh, I know what I'm missing Pikachu. Oh god. Wait, is it 4 or 5 plushies? I forget. Oh, let's look it up, because I can't be bothered to wait. I know where a Pikachu doll is too, by the way. It's in the Wastelands. Somebody wants to talk to me, who is it? Oh, you with your Tinka gears. What the hell are you doing here? It might not be Eevee, it might be Pikachu. Oh, it's not Clefairy. I just stole Swablu's plushie for no fucking reason. I feel like an asshole now. You don't belong. Let me go give Swablu their plushie back. I feel like an actual dick. Geronimo! Boy. There you go. Sorry about your plushie. Can I buy a Pikachu doll? I will buy one if I can, just to make it easier on myself. Doesn't look like it. That's fine. That's okay. Okay, Pikachu doll. I have to steal Mimikyu's former house. I'll leave the couch there because the couch is kind of funny just being there for no reason. Okay, now we can do what I wanted. There we go. That's what I wanted. These plushies look really cute, by the way. The fact that they have no noses. Drifloon, I'm assuming this is probably Drifblim. Some Pokemon might mistake all these dolls for the real things. Yeah, I'm assuming it's Drifblim because if Drifloon is one of them, Drifblim probably is the other one. Oh god. What are the habitats do I want? Excuse me. Oh yeah, the headbutt fossils. Shit. What? My headbutt fossils, I think, are actually back in the wastelands. I know I'm teleporting a lot, guys. I'm sorry. It's just I forget where my things are. It's so much traveling, and I'd rather do fast travel, which is easier. Okay. The fossils I think were near my first bench over there in the beginning of this of the game. I also saw that glowing thing up there I have to go grab. I think it's back here. The middle one then. Really? Neither? This one? Really? What the fuck? Did I actually overhear them? What the fuck? Oh god, are my fossils back in the ridges? Did I fuck up? I think I fucked up. That's fine. Oh, they are back in the ridges. I know why too. Dude, that's where I put all my fossils. This place looks nice considering it's just a bunch of natural habitats. I like how this looks actually. What's up, Charmander? Thank you. You're welcome. Thanks for the seeds. I don't know, I kind of like this being this kind of simplified, like, actual, like, Pokemon looking town, you know? Let's go to the rocky ridges then, which is over here. Sorry, I'm getting kind of quiet. I'm actually getting really tired. Really tired really fast. Is Haxorus here now? Not yet. Okay, so I have the head and the body. I have the tail. I do. I'm missing the left wing too, or Aerodactyl. This one I can make. Do I have? I do. I'll just make it here actually. Make it easy. Looks awkward, but it's there. Heck? Oh, it just wasn't centered. Here we go. That doesn't look like a Rampardos, I'm not gonna lie, but I guess that's what the fossil looks like. Cool, so now we just wait for Rampardos to show up. What now? Anything more I want to do? This base is already level 10, so I'm not like super interested in continuing this area. Fucker. Let's go back to Pallet Town. We'll do a little bit more there and finish up. did you guys know that it's actually my mom's birthday tomorrow? It's really sad because I'm gonna be working, so I'm not gonna be able to give her a nice happy birthday. What's up, Edie? Yay! First name basis. What's up, Caesar? Alright, what can I build here? There's one thing I can build here. Where is it? It's the Snorlax bed thing. Where's the Snorlax bed habitat at? There it is. It's a tree and it's just a tree in the bed. Cool, that's actually really easy. Right here. I know I have the bed on me because I've been wanting to make it. There we go. Happy birthday, dear mom. Thanks. Oh no, that's just something I wanted to bring up. Like, hey, it's an important day tomorrow. It's the birthday of my mama. It's okay. I'll get her some nice flowers or something. I want to make the Jack-in-the-Box thing. How do I make it? It's... Oh, hi, Leona. Hi. How you doing? Oh, it's just the box plus... Shit. Wait, that's not the one I want. I took a picture of the one I want. Shit, okay, I didn't take a picture of the one I wanted. How you doing, Leona? Sucks. That's not the one I didn't take the one I wanted. Ah, fuck. That's fine. We can still make the one I can make right now. That's not right. That's right. Nice job spamming these emotes. How's work going? I have to get my dose over in. I feel like you've been overdosing. You got a lot of doses of me. Save some doses for the rest of the chat. I think they use spotlights now that I think about it. Back to work, meow. Enjoy your work. Where are my little spotlights at? These things. I think it's just two. Never too much. It's probably true. If it was too much, the people that are here every day wouldn't be here every day. Hang on. I think it's with spotlights, right? Hi, Munchlax. What are you doing around here? Oh. Shit, I don't have that. It is with two spotlights. Where are they? get rid of that for now. Where do I get this thing that I'm looking for? Oh, Sparkling Skylands level 9. Am I level 9 in the Skylands? I actually don't know. If I am, I can already make it. If not, I know what I should want to go for now. I think I am, yeah, okay. I know what I want to do. Skyland's level 9, which means I just need to talk to people and fix up their shite. But anyway, Leonis, I really appreciate you being around. I think we'll only go for a little bit longer. I'm actually starting to fall asleep here. This game's too fucking cozy. I might have to put this game on hold for a week because I feel like I'm out of things to do personally. Besides obviously just build habitats, but some things are just RNG. What am I at? Oh, I need to be 9 and I'm only level 6. Oh, shit. Oh, Ticketon is a home. I can fix that real easy. Oh my god. That's why Ticketon's always just hanging out outside the mall. Fucking delinquent. Follow me. I will actually make you my roommate with this Wait, no, I need shit in the Pokeball home. God damn it. Before there was Dark Souls, though, was Mega Man. I agree. Mega Man's actually really hard. What do I have for beds and stuff? Hang on. I have a table, or I have 2 chairs, a mirror. I need a bed. Let's give ourselves a nice bed. Playing Zero the bosses are crazy. Oh yeah, no, like Mega Man's actually hard. Old school Mega Man's actually one of the hardest things ever. There's a literal song about why Airman in one of the Mega Mans is really fucking, like, is insanely hard, almost impossible at times. It's a really good song too. I forget what it's called. It's like Airman ga Sukanai or something like that. It's like Airman is unbeatable or something is what it translates to. Let me go for a nice chair. And then do you want to live here? There we go. So now you have a home, so now you're not homeless. Bumfuck nowhere, motherfucker. Alright, cool. There's that. Cyndaquil, Vulpix, where's Brava? What the fuck? I think I know where it is. Aki's a little more light. Who's that? Hoppip? You want a toy that makes your home brighter? I can do that. What do you have for lighting up toys? Might not be a light up toy actually. These are toys, but it's not what I want. What am I gonna give you? Because I don't want something that's too bright for Duskull, because Duskull wants it dark. Gotta give you like a wall light, with like a switch or something. This can work actually. They give you a toy too. What does Hoppip like for toys? Soft nature breezes, pretty flowers, Wally stuff. Soft nature breezes. Air fan, I guess? Ow. Rather like a fan, not air fan, Jesus Christ. This thing. There's the fan out there. Do that, and then I will put on a lamp that is turn on and offable for people. Go. So I think you're good now. Yep. Now Cyndaquil needs a better house. What do you want? You want a toy. The fan, you're not gonna like it. Don't even look at it. You like it? What the fuck does he like? Do you like breezes? Oh, metal. Maybe that'll work for you. Let me move you actually. I'll move your place. Because you absolutely don't like the cold, so the fan's not good for you. Surprised that he likes the fan. No, I don't think he'll like it either. Yeah. People on GS still want to class. What's going on? What's going on, Ruby? There we go. That should help you guys. Somebody turn it on. You guys will be good. Fabrics and objects, metal stuff, slender objects, fabric, toys. What's going on though, Ruby? Explain to me. Fabric, slender objects. Oh, hang on. There's another Pokemon get traded because they can't go to a certain game. Oh yeah. Yeah, that sucks about how they handle like the Pokemon just not being in the Pokédex for a game. rides could work. Hold up. He likes a toy or a ride. Canoe can work for you. Oh. Where the fuck do you get the malicious armor from? You could just get several edge in here? I gotta Google this, hang on. Where the fuck do you get his armor from? Is armor rouges in here then? Is it a large it could be a large lost relic, right? Oh, it's not. Where the fuck? It says you need a armor fragment? Where the fuck do you find these? Oh, excuse me. Kimiko can give it to you. Okay. Okay, not so bad. That's pretty cool though. Straight up just Cerulege? Hell yeah. I'm gonna put this on the back so the Cyndaquil and Quilava don't actually have to deal with the fan. What's up? Should work a little better for you. You want a toy? Yeah, I know. I got your toy. Don't worry. Where's the canoe? There you go. I got the thing you wanted. Wait, what? He doesn't like canoes. And I guess a slide, I guess? He hates canoes. Motherfucker hates canoes. I guess we do this. I guess this is metal too. Thinking about it, this should work. Get away! Cyndaquil! I got you another canoe. I mean a slide. Do you like it? Do you like it? He loves it. What do you want again, Quilava? Oh, fireplace. Cool. I just got you what you wanted. Alright, who else needs... I like how Hop-Up just... Oh yeah, Sprigatito and Vulpix, I think, right? Or was it just Vulpix? Vulpix and Quilava. That's who it is. What do you want? You want a bed. What kind of bed do you want? Soft, cute, round. It's actually really easy to do for you for a bed. Soft. Soft, cute, round. I actually don't have a round bed for you. I guess the straw bed might work. Oh, wait, there's another habitat info there. Or Pokemon info. Who is it now? Dragonair, cool. Fluffy flower bed, that's really easy actually. It's literally in this area too. There you go. Please notice your bed. Oh my god, look how he sleeps. The Hoppit pushed him off the bed. How do you like it? You liked it. Average? Okay. Average is okay. And then Kolab or Vibrov, I think's over here somewhere. Yes, he is. Sniff, sniff, sniff. What's up? What do you want? You want a drier habitat? Oh shit. How would I do that for you? I need a... Oh god, what's the word? Like a dry rock or something. I forgot what it's called. Can I buy one? I forgot the item that makes things dry. I have one too. I think I left it in Onyx's home. Shit. I can fix this. Need to steal some dry grass from somewhere. Fuck, does a fucking breeze help make it drier? Oh my god. I have to Google again. Is the only answer the Oh, hey. I think I literally have a home that I can move him to give him what he wants. Wait. Follow me, buddy. How would you... Oh, this isn't a stone house, actually. Shit. I can fix this. Nightmare. I can fix this. Oh, it is a stone cottage. Oh shit, it is. Right? Is it a city cottage? Is it stone or city that I made? That's stone, right? That purple thing? It is a stone cottage. Okay, yes. Move your ass inside. I need to give you some furnishings. Need to give you some nice dry beds. No, not a bed. A bench. And I don't know. A fan? No, a fan. Does a fan make things humid or dry? I don't know. I need a dehumidifier. Fuck it, I'll give you a wall mirror. Come inside with me. Get in here. Oh, this is a nice looking house. This baby could fit so much shit in it. Give you a wall mirror, like right there. We give you a bed. close to your mirror, but not exactly like in front of it. We'll give you a bench to relax with away from your bed. Remember, your relaxation should not be near your bed. Then besides that, is that it? That's it. You want to move in here? Hey, here you go. Now, how do you like it? Here, it works. Oh, thank God it works. Alright, we're level 7. I need 2 more levels for what I want, by the way. Ooh. Rare Pokemon actually. Hold up. Give me that. It's only 1, but that's worth it. Alright, let's finish up for now. Why can't I save right now? Alright, we're gonna finish up for now. I'm honestly, like, legitimately falling asleep, so I'm just gonna take an early night. Let's go back over to here. Alright guys, we're gonna be done for now. Sorry it's a little bit earlier than usual. I think it's just Pokopia. It's just too relaxing now that there's like no limit, I guess, on what I can and can't do. But yeah, we'll finish up here. We're done for the week. I won't be back till next Wednesday. Let me check the weather. How's it gonna be next week? Thanks for stream. Yeah, thank you guys for being here. Hope you guys enjoyed. I know a lot of you guys lurk, so hopefully it was enjoyable for you guys. Next week the weather should be fine. I should stream around the same time. The reason why I say the weather is once it starts warming up over here in California, I can't really stream as early as I do just because it's too fucking hot. But this week should be fine. So yeah, next week we'll probably do the same thing. We'll probably keep the same games going. I might put Pokopia onto the shelf for a week. So maybe I'll do Mario Galaxy twice next week. I don't know. It's hard for me to think right now. I'm kind of just done with today. Not like in a bad way. I want to be done today. So that'll be all I do. So yeah, keep you guys eyes on the server when I post my schedule. I will post the freaky art when I get it fully completed. It's as if you guys saw the preview, it's almost done. Maybe it is done and I just want to hide it for a little bit, but anyway, yeah, I'll catch you guys next week. Okay, please have a good weekend. Please take care of yourselves, and yeah, I appreciate you guys staying here as long as you guys have. I always say it, but it's true. All right, have a good night, guys. Okay, see you next week. Bye.